Good evening. It's 9 o'clock. And this is official because we're recording this session. So good evening. Welcome to the 43rd CALLERLAB Convention in Norfolk, Virginia. Today is, I have no idea, it's Sunday, March 20th. Thank you very much. And this is the orientation session. I am Pam Clasper, your moderator, and our panelist today is Tom Rayner. I'm not a caller. I have no desire ever to be a caller. But I have been dancing for almost 43 years, and my husband has been calling for 32 years. My husband is Barry Clasper, who is the immediate past chairman of CALLERLAB, of the Board of Governors. So he is downstairs in the Board of Governors meeting right now. So, and we're here to help you get the most you can out of this convention and have the best time possible. I am delighted to say that this year we have 24 people who are here for the first time. I don't know if they're all in this room, but at this convention we have 24 people who are here for the first time. So that is terrific news. We're always thrilled to meet new people and see new people at the convention. So I've been around, this is my 16th convention. So I kind of forget what it's like to be a first-timer, which is why I asked somebody like Tom. This is Tom's third, I believe, Tom's third convention. Tom also, even though he isn't, you still an American citizen? Yes, he is an American citizen, but learned to dance in Germany and now lives in Japan. So people have made quite a commitment coming from, we have a number of overseas people, I see some in this room, and that make a huge commitment, and coming from Japan, as you can imagine, is a huge commitment. So I'm going to let Tom talk about what it feels like to be a first-timer, because he can put himself in your shoes and some of the experiences he got out of his first couple of conventions. So go for it.
All right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear it okay? All right, great. Testing, 1, 2. Okay. So certainly, if you have any questions throughout the evening, feel free to ask them. Just raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you so that it gets recorded on the recording here as well, so for other people to listen to. Okay. So a little bit about myself. First, I'm glad that there's not 4 hats up here. That was running me a little ragged there for a little bit, but we're all okay. A little bit about myself. I'm relatively new to square dancing. My wife and I are. We didn't start square dancing till 2009. Okay, and that's when, as Pam stated, that's when we were in Germany, and it was a funny thing. It was just one of those deals where we were at a church. It was after Mass, and we were at this like little coffee social afterwards, and there was a little flyer there that said, "Come on out and check out Square Dance event, free night. Come on out and check us out." Right? And so my wife and I, we like dancing, we like music, so we said, "Let's give it a go." Right? And we figured it'd be a great way because we just moved there, didn't know a lot of the people, and it was in a little German town. Figured it'd be a great way to meet some people. And here's the catcher, right? You're in Germany, right? But all the calls are in English, so it was great. The instructions for the moves were in Deutsch, so sometimes we had to do a little more research that way. But all the calls were in English. It was fantastic, and it really was a great way to get out and meet folks, right? So I went to the 2014 Reno, Nevada convention that they had there. That was the first one there, and I was really like reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm really interested in square dancing," and I had already started calling. I said, "I want to find out more. There's got to be more to it. There's got to be more to it." So I reached out and I found the CALLERLAB Association, and then I found out there was a convention. I said, "Wow, that's cool." Get involved with something where you can go and meet up with other folks and find out how other folks are doing square dancing events and how they're doing calling and get more of the information, more in-depth knowledge, right? Went to the 2015 Springfield, Missouri convention. That was another great convention, and it was like a no-brainer. I was coming to here. I think originally it was supposed to be in Lansdowne, Virginia, but then he moved it to Norfolk, which I was just telling Pam was kind of like a homecoming for me, because that's where, when I was in the Navy, that was our first assignment, was over here in Norfolk Naval Base. So this is kind of cool. And then I have every intention of going to the 4th one. For me, it'll be the, I guess it'll be number 44 for the convention history next year in Mesa, Arizona, right? So, so it's all new to me, the square dancing and the calling, and then attending this CALLERLAB convention, being a CALLERLAB member, 3 years for that. It's really a very interesting, and it just kind of broadens out. You've all experienced it in your own square dance clubs and in your own neighborhoods, right? That bonding that happens. Well, belonging to CALLERLAB and coming to these conventions kind of puts that on steroids, right? It kind of like it just superpowers it, and it just makes you allowed to network throughout the whole. In this club right here, in this CALLERLAB internationally, right? So there'll be folks here from Japan, there'll be folks here from Switzerland, there'll be folks here from Germany, there's folks here from England, there's folks from all over the United States. And Canada, yes, thank you. Best not forget Canada. So, but it's really good, and for me, as a caller, I'd have to give a lot of thanks to Christoph Kettner, who was the caller in our club, who kind of said he must have heard me singing some of the songs when I was dancing, and he said, you want to give it a try, and then it was one thing after another with that, right? I think what really got me piqued on finding out more about the callers was hearing great American callers at some of the big events that would happen in Europe, right? That was my first real experience. People like a gentleman by the name of Kenny Reese, wonderful caller. Unfortunately, he's passed, but he was a wonderful caller, really great guy. That's where I first got to meet Ken Bowers and Buddy Weaver, those kind of people. And it was a long list of German and Austrian callers, and that's also where I got to meet Walt and Julie Burr, right? And so it's very interesting how this all goes around, because when I found out my next assignment was from Germany, was going to be into Japan, I said, well, we really like the square dance stuff. I happened to see Walt. I said, Walt, do you know, do they square dance in Japan? I mean, do you have any connections in Japan, right? And it was through the work of Walt and me kind of like beating the bushes and finding out what's going on, got hooked up with a club, got hooked up with Fuji Squares, right? And Takozaki is our caller, right? Wonderful guy, right? Yeah. And he's kind of taken me under his wing to kind of, mentor me along with the whole calling aspect. And then you got people like Rod Bradish and Naru Akamura-san and Doc, yeah, there he is. Doc Masahura Haragwa back there, and Hiroshi Nakagawa-san, and Masaru Wada-san. All these folks, fantastic folks, right? And they're here to help everyone. They have the parties and whatnot. So, and once again, people like Buddy Weaver. Once again, I'm seeing that international flavor. Buddy Weaver coming over to Japan to call. Wade Driver coming over to Japan to call, and lots more. That's just the ones that I have there. The other piece about CALLERLAB and the convention here is that, so you meet these callers, you meet the people behind the scenes of all this action that you have. You meet the people that make the music, right? That produce the music, that sing the songs, that write the choreography that go behind it, that kind of make sure and codify the choreography, that it's all right and it's all standardized. And we all know when we say element left, we know what that is, right? And whatever other call you might have there, to have it standardized so that it's that common language that we all share, that common bond that we all have with one another. And then you have the people behind the scenes that make it all happen, and with the panels, the chairmans, the board of directors. You have the CALLERLAB home office, which puts a lot of work into putting this all together and making this a reality every year, and then all the stuff that happens in between then and now. So it's really an amazing event. And so with that said, talk a little bit about the schedule here and like how I go about picking events to attend, because when you look at it, you go, I want to go to everything. But then you find out 6 things are happening in parallel, in one time slot. So you can't go to everything, right? So it's fortunate that a lot of the stuff is recorded, right? Not everything, but the bulk of it is. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So the bulk of it's recorded, right? And so you kind of go and pick and choose what you really want to attend most, what you think you get the most out of by being physically there. And there's so much to offer with that, right?
Interject with one thing. If you are having to choose between two sessions that you really want to attend, if you think there's liable to be a visual aspect, i.e., are they going to get a square up to see some choreography or something like that, attend that one, because then you can just listen to the other one. They're not, they're hoping to do it soon, but I don't think they're video recording a lot of the sessions. It's strictly audio recordings. So kind of use that as a rule of thumb when, if you do really have to choose between two, attend the one that you think might be more visual. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And then the other neat thing, if you have any smartphones or iPads or anything that you have, there's a guidebook app out there that you can get. It's free, and you can get the CALLERLAB 2016 schedule to come right up on there, and then you can pick which ones you want on your schedule, and it can give you an advance notice. So like you say, I want to know an hour ahead of time or a day ahead of time or whatever time you want to have ahead of time. It'll give you a little message saying, hey, this event's coming up, right? So it's all good stuff right there. So the bottom line is, when I first came to this CALLERLAB in 2014, I didn't know what quite to expect. But I can tell you, I left that one with a lot more friends in the square dance calling community, right, and in the CALLERLAB community, and it's just built upon that every year since then. And it's you meet amazing people, right, and you have that opportunity to sit face to face and talk to somebody about something that you're thinking about, a question that you have about a particular move, a question that you have about how to go about resolving a square when it looks like it's going kaput, right? There's some sessions like that on there as well. A lot of good folks here, and they're all here to help, right? They're all here to help one another. So I feel like the only dumb question is the one that you don't ask when you're here, right? Okay. I look forward to meeting you all through. I mean, I see you all now, but I look forward to meeting you face to face throughout this week. But that's pretty much everything that I have. You have any questions? Or?
If I say something that sparks a question, feel free to ask, and it might be something that Tom can answer. I don't know. Before I continue, I forgot to mention, there's a couple of handouts here, one that sort of talks about what CALLERLAB, one which is particularly interesting to people who haven't been around before. It's basically a CALLERLAB history. It is on the website, but I put them as a handout, which I find people find interesting. So a couple of things. I'm sort of doing what I might call the housekeeping things. This is your Bible. It is available, as Tom said, on if you can get the Guidebook app on your smartphone, and then you can, once you're into Guidebook, you can search and find CALLERLAB Convention 2016, and you'll find the Guidebook. But it's basically covers this. So, yes, Ed?
Is the app called Guidebook?
Yes. The app is called, the app itself that you download first is called Guidebook, yes. And so this is your Bible. This tells you when everything is, a brief description, who's going to be presenting. There's a couple of changes because unfortunately a couple of people have had to cancel out at the last minute. But by and large, this is what you go to. And they do try and record all of the interest sessions. Committee meetings are not recorded, but all the interest sessions are. So that's that. In your packet is a yellow critique sheet, comment sheet. Please fill these out. Good, bad, well, indifferent, but the good and the bad. The executive committee, there's 5 members on the executive committee, the chairman, the vice chairman, and 3 other members on the executive committee. And as I said, my husband's past chair, and he's still on the executive committee. They read every one of these. One of the first things that Dana, our executive director, does when he gets back home is scan all these and email them out to them all, as well as reports that we have to fill out, the moderators. They have to read all these. They have to listen to every single recording. And they do. They listen to every single recording before they go to their spring executive committee meeting, which is usually late May or early June. That is the convention planning meeting. And they use these to plan next year's convention, because they are working to make sure that you get the most out of the CALLERLAB convention. And there have been many, many changes to the convention, changes to sessions that they do, changes to speakers. If you've got ideas for things you'd like to see, speak up. I mean, so that's what these are all about, and that's why they record everything. There's also a form to sign up already for next year, which they want you to do, of course. The convention recordings, back, I can't remember when now, but many years ago, we used to pay $189 to get the whole shebang. And then Dana, our executive director, made a deal with the company that does the recordings, and he buys the masters. As a CALLERLAB member, you can buy the recording of all of the interest sessions for $25. They come on CDs. They're MP3 files on CDs, and so you can get them all for $25. Tom mentioned, various people. You'll see lots of us wearing, and you've got the ribbons, you've got the first-timer, the brown first-timer ribbon, and you'll probably find some people seeking you out, anybody with red ribbons. Those are guys you really want to talk to, because the chairman, the past chairman, the members of the executive committee, and the 25 members of the board of governors all have a red ribbon somewhere. Those are the guys that are involved, have been here a while, know what's going on, and they want to meet you. They want your input. When you're in sessions, please, please speak up. People want to hear what you have to say. I don't know if Tom can say if he sort of did that or felt that way, but I mean they really and I'm talking to partners as well. By the way, I don't know how many partners are in the room, how many are partners and how many are callers. It doesn't matter. But partners are free to speak up and say anything at any time. Everybody is there's one or two committee meetings that are closed. I think a special organizations one. But most committee meetings, even if you're not on the committee, you are invited to attend the committee meeting. You might find out you want to join that committee. And again, you're invited to speak up. If they're having a vote, which happens very seldom at convention, most of the voting is done by email for committee matters. But you can't vote on the committee unless you join it. But you are free to speak up. They want your opinion. Again, this is how things evolve and how things change. Yes, Tom?
Yeah, I was just going to say about getting involved and asking questions and whatnot. There are some sessions where they'll push the chairs back and they'll say, okay, I need some volunteers. We want to get a square up here so we can see, we want to demonstrate how to go through this sequence of events to kind of like demonstrate where maybe a square is in trouble and how to, some possible ways of getting them out of trouble, that type of thing. And feel free to get up. Don't be bashful. Get up there and get in the mix, right? Roll up your sleeves, get in the mix, because that's really the opportunity to learn it. And you're talking, some of the people in that class, they're either the people that are moderating that particular event. They are probably teachers at some of the schools that are around here, and so they're the pros, right?
Yeah, but they, like I say, well, Barry, my husband, teaches at caller schools regularly, and he always says he comes out of a caller school, he learned something from the students. I mean, it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street, absolutely, all the time. During the coffee breaks, please, again, go up and introduce yourself. The red ribbons are good. We've got a couple of others. I think it's a pale yellow. I have them all written down here somewhere. There's a light blue, a pale light blue one. Those are our milestone recipients. Milestone Award is the highest award the CALLERLAB gives for all kinds of wonderful things they've done. And I think it's yellow. There's a pale yellow one, and those are our life members who are again because of milestone awards are basically for what people have done for square dancing. Life members are for what people have done for CALLERLAB. So those are people that have been around. There are 3 people at this convention who. This is their 43rd convention. John Jones, who was, I think, our 3rd chairman. Jim Mayo, who was our 1st chairman. And Melton Luttrell. Those 3. You'll meet them tomorrow morning. They'll be stand up and be recognized tomorrow morning. But they have been to all 43 CALLERLAB conventions. There's I'm talking about committees. Partners. There are many of the committees that partners can be full voting members of. Well, obviously, you cannot be a full voting member of the Plus Committee or the Mainstream Committee because you don't call those programs. But the Marketing Committee, the Choreographic Applications Committee, the Definitions Committee, if you'd like to get into the nitty-gritty of that stuff. Partners, there's various various committees that the Home Office has sheets, an application to join a committee, and it tells you on there which one's partners, but you can be full voting members. A few of us rabble-rousers got that one through a few years ago. We pushed. There's two things, I don't know if there's two iterations of each of them, but there's two what they call informals. There's a BOG, a Board of Governors informal, and there are caller coach informals. The Board of Governors, there will be two Board of Governors members sitting in a room, and anybody is welcome to come in and talk to them about anything. And it will not be recorded, but they will take notes and they'll bring it back to the Board of Governors and we'll discuss it. And again, many things have happened, committees have changed, committees have been formed, whatever, because of these Board of Governors informals. It's a way, to bring things to the board. And there's always one session of that on Monday and one on Tuesday, so hopefully you can get to whatever you want to get to. The caller coach informals, again, I don't know if there's two of them. There might well be. I forgot to check ahead of time. There's two, you've looked? Okay, great, thank you. Two caller coaches will be in a room. So if you've been calling for a while and you think you'd like to start teaching other callers, or you have any kind of interest in helping mentoring callers even, or if you'd like to think about getting accredited as a caller coach or something, go and talk to those guys. That's what they're sitting there for. They're there for you to just go in and talk to them and ask any questions, anything like that. You've got the handout from this session. Any of us who got our handouts in time, which I did, March 1st, there you can get a thumb drive. It was one of the options, I think, to take for your packet. I lost track of what they were doing, but I think they're selling them for $5. It's a lovely little thumb drive. I don't know if it's a 4 gig or 8 gig, whatever, but it's a handy thumb drive. All the handouts are on the thumb drive, so you've got them all. So if they run out of a session, don't worry. Hopefully they got them in time to the Home Office, and they'll get them all on the handout. So you'll have all that. I forgot to check where the vendors are, but we do have a couple of vendors here. And same area as the register. Oh, okay. So in just down the hall here, right here. So please visit our vendors. They come and support the convention and all that. I'm not sure what we've got there. And you'll hear tomorrow morning at various general sessions. It started years ago. The hotel staff is told to use our badges as proof. Our CALLERLAB convention badges as proof that we're here and can get our meals. So you'll hear people shouting the mantra, no badge, no food, no exceptions. It's just one of those silly things that started years ago. Nobody knows really how, but that's the way it goes. So that's pretty much what I have to say. Like I say, to introduce yourself to people. There's lots of time at the coffee breaks. I mean, lifelong friendships are formed from just mingling around the stand at the coffee breaks here during the sessions. So, does anybody have any questions for us for anything? Yes, just a second, because we want these recorded so that it's done. So,
I just want to clarify, where are the meals and what times?
Good question. There's lunch each tomorrow and Tuesday, and the banquets tomorrow night and Tuesday night. Let me look in my Bible, because I haven't checked it out yet. We got here Friday night, but I haven't.
It's lunch tomorrow from the Guidebook App is in the Poplar and Providence ballrooms.
I think those are on the 3rd floor. I didn't pull my map. Oh, I know where my map is. Just a second.
And then the dinner, banquet, same place, Poplar and Providence ballrooms for the lunch and dinner tomorrow. No, that was a different room. Yeah.
Next door. Next door. Just if you were standing looking at the door to go in to where the talent show was, it's to the right. The two halls together to the right. So that's where, and that'll probably be the same on Tuesday. The lunch and Tuesday night banquet.
Same location for the lunch.
And probably the banquet.
Yeah, I'm checking that right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Same place.
So you're faster.
Poplar and Providence ballrooms.
Okay, so that's where the meal. Breakfast, you're on your own. One time they did include a breakfast in with the convention fee, and a lot of people objected because people said, number one, either I don't eat breakfast, or I just like a light breakfast, and I'm paying for a full thing. So they decided it was sort of a general consensus. People were happier that they're on their own for breakfast. But lunch and the two lunches and 2 banquets are included. Do you have a question? Just hold on a second.
It might be a little late now because I'm already here, but what is the attire that is expected during the day and the banquets in the evenings?
During the day, it's pretty much whatever you want. People come pretty casually, whatever you like. Most people do tend to dress up a little more in the evenings. Some gentlemen like to wear jackets, a lot don't. You do see a few ties, you see a lot not. Some ladies will wear sort of cocktail dresses, some will just come in a pantsuit, some would come dressed like I am now, in slacks and a top. And nobody fusses. Square dance attire is totally appropriate for the evening if you choose to wear it, but it is certainly not mandatory. Same thing for the evening dances. Tomorrow evening, the past chairmen are putting on a dance, and then there is a contra dance, which will be to recorded music. It's Clark's Zesty Contra. And then Tuesday evening, our wonderful lady callers are putting on a dance for everybody. And again, you'll see people coming straight from dinner in their nicer dresses. You'll see people going up and changing into their jeans to go and dance. And you'll get everything in between. And it's just fine. So it's not a big fuss. Gentlemen, if you do normally wear a cap or a hat, we do request that you remove it at the meals. Other than that, there's not a lot of fuss. Anything else?
Will there be any breakout sessions for other dances than square dancing, like line dancing, rounds, or contras?
Not that I'm aware of this year. Occasionally we have had sessions discussing the cooperation between square and round dancing. I've been to some of those sessions, but I don't think there's anything this year on what you might call the associated forms of dancing, or cousins, or whatever you want to say, of square dancing. And if you'd like to see something, write it on your yellow sheet, on your critique sheet, and the executive committee will discuss it in the spring at their convention planning meeting, and you might get something like that in Mesa next year. Like I said, that's how sessions get started, because of a request. So I've seen it happen personally. So I know that they listen. And I hear most of the recordings because my husband's listening to them while we're doing things around the house. So I know they listen to all of them.
Are all of the birds of a feather sessions in the program, or are there some maybe the extra ones that are getting scheduled at the end?
There may be. I don't know of any at the moment. I haven't heard of anything since we've arrived. That there are any that are not listed in the program yet. If there are, Dana will make an announcement. Either, if they know ahead already, he will make an announcement tomorrow morning. Occasionally he'll make an announcement at a lunch, either tomorrow or Tuesday, and say, this has come up and has been scheduled. It's going to be in such and such a room. So the Birds of a Feather sessions, I don't know if they're all recorded or not. It depends what room they put them in, because they put the recording equipment in the rooms they think we're going to use for the intra sessions, and not in the ones that they figure they're going to use for the committee meetings. The Birds of a Feather are basically, they're not formal sessions, but people that are interested in something similar, and somebody says, well, I want to talk about this, and I think a group of people would like to talk about this, so they have what they call they get known as BOFs, but yeah, Birds of a Feather sessions.
And looking at the schedule real quick, looks like there's 4 sessions, and they all happen on Tuesday afternoon between 4 and 5.
I think there are a couple tomorrow.
I think there's one tomorrow.
I think there's at least 1 or 2 tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thank you. And there's 3 tomorrow, from 5:15 to 5:45.
Yeah. So those are sort of after hours, but there's still time if you want to go to one of the Birds of a Feather session. There's still time if you want to get changed to do that and still get to the banquet in plenty of time. So, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Ed.
So this one's for Tom. I'm just curious. You gave us a good idea of general things of how you were impressed with your first convention, which I'm sure we all felt when we came for the first time. Do you remember anything specifically that was said in a workshop, in a session that you went to that has stuck with you that made an impression, something specific from a workshop that was said by the leader. And when you tell me or not, I'll share with you all what impressed me when I went to my very first CALLERLAB convention.
It's a good question, and I'm a post-processor, so I'm not good with stuff on the fly like that, but I'll give it a go. I think it was when they were sitting down there, and I believe it was Wade Driver and I want to say John. I can't remember John's last name, though. They were sitting down there, and they were breaking down a singing call. They were actually putting together a singing call right there on the spot, and just to hear the mechanics of how to put it together, put the calls together so it would fit the 64 beats and kind of go with that, and to hear how they were, the different options they had on that. That kind of stuck with me, and it just made me very curious about finding more out about, how songs are composed. Yeah.
Interesting, thank you. So my experience happened to be that I don't remember who was presenting, but whoever said this, they said, "Well, all the professional callers, please stand." And I mean, this was the time when it was an auditorium full of callers. "Well, all the professional callers, please stand." And there were maybe 5 that stood up. And of course, that question was taken as, people thinking they were full-time callers. And then he followed that up by saying, "You all should be standing up because you're all professionals." And, that one little sentence stuck with me for 20 years, and it's been amazing.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Ed. Any other questions? Well, that's all we have for you tonight, but if you do come up with something and you aren't sure about something, like I said, ask someone with a red ribbon. Come and find me. If you can find me, I'm usually floating around somewhere. I don't have any sessions to do. I can just go to where I want tomorrow and Tuesday. So I'll be around, and feel free to ask, and have a great convention. We're delighted to see you all here and hope that you have a great time. Thank you.